Hello and welcome to class. I'm Professor Allen, and today I have something special for all of you. We're going to be doing an ecological tour of a certain species of Pokemon. What species, you may ask? Well, let's introduce my assistant, and I will show you. Here we go. This is my assistant, Goomy. And that's right, today we're going to be learning all about these guys. In fact, we're even going to learn about what it was like for Goomies in Hisui. Now, Hisui is what Sinnoh used to be back in time. Modern day Sinnoh, though, is very different. For some reason, Goomies don't live in modern day Sinnoh, but that is something we'll dive into for a future video. But nonetheless, let's get into it. Don't you agree, Goomy? Let's go.
Here we see some Goomies living in a marsh. Goomy is also known as the soft tissue Pokemon, or National Dex number 704. Let's look at these little guys move around. The bodies are made of mostly water. They have a gooey membrane to protect themselves from drying out. As we can see, they're moving around. That gooey membrane also makes attacks from predators and enemies, such as punches and kicks, slide right off them, protecting the Goomy and taking no damage. If the weather becomes too arid, it can dry out, and if it does, it will be unable to breathe and may perish. This is why Goomies like to live in wetlands and marshes by lakes and rivers. Goomy's horns are excellent sensory organs that cover all 5 of Goomy's senses. Goomy can pick up on danger from the movement of the air. When alerted of an enemy, Goomy will go to hide. It's speculated this survival instinct has kept the species alive. Pulling on a Goomy's horns will give it a shock and making it unable to move for a short time. As we can see, many Goomy also live with Sliggoo in different areas. Here we have a lake scene. Sliggoo, the soft tissue Pokemon, National Dex number 705. Sliggoo crawls along sluggishly. Its 4 horns are a high-performance radar system. It uses them to sense sounds and smells rather than using ears or a nose. The swirling protrusion on its back is filled with all its vital organs, such as its brain and heart. It looks like a shell, though. Sliggoo may not be very strong, but its body is coated in a sticky, caustic slime it secretes that can melt through anything, so predators still clear of it. This mucus has dissolved Sliggoo's eyes as well, so it cannot see anything. We can see the big green spots where the eyes would be. Sliggoo only thinks about food and escaping predators. Toothless, it sprays mucus that can dissolve anything. It uses this mucus on prey, and once so dissolved, it slurps them up. Sliggoo also often has trouble drawing a line between friends and food. It will calmly try to melt and eat even those it gets along well with. That is a risk many trainers need to be aware of when raising a Sliggoo, that it may try and eat you or your other Pokemon. Remember, Sliggoo, friends are not food. You might have to tell it a few times though. As we can see, Pokemon like Totsugiri also live in the same environment as Goomy and Sliggoo. Now we're here at Goodra, the dragon Pokemon, National Dex number 706. An amazingly friendly Pokemon, but if left to itself, loneliness overcomes it, and it oozes gooey tears. Look how friendly these guys look. It's very friendly towards people. If you grow close to it, Goodra will hug you with sticky slime-covered body. Please don't get mad. It's not trying to upset you. It sees you as a friend. Sometimes it misunderstands instructions and appears dazed or bewildered. Many trainers don't mind finding this behavior to be adorable. I mean, look at that. Ah, the Goodra fell asleep. It gets picked on because it's meek. But then, whoever teased it, it gets to feel the full force of its horns and a good swatting from its thick tail. It can pack a punch stronger than that of a pro boxer, so really don't want to get on the bad side of a Goodra. This Pokemon is uncontrollable when enraged. It rampages on and on, lashing its tail with enough power to send a dump truck flying. But look at these guys. They're sleeping so cute you would not expect how much fuss is behind a Goodra with how cute and cuddly they appear. It truly is a really friendly dragon Pokemon, which is quite interesting. Many professors such as myself are trying to theorize why modern day Goodra is so friendly and open the way it is, versus how Hisuian Goodra in the past was, which we'll get to shortly.
We've taken a look at modern day Goomy, Sliggoo, and Goodra. Now it's time for us to go and take a look back in Hisui. Now, the Goomy line is a bit different in Hisui. We'll learn why in a moment, but we're going to see that Goodra and Hisui look a little bit different. As you can tell, they have this big shell over their tail. That shell can do more than just that. So before we get into exploring Hisui and the effects the environment had on the Goomy line, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps small accounts like mine. Come on, cheer up the Goodra. It's so sad. It wants you to subscribe. Okay, let's get into it.
Here we have some footage of Goomies in Hisui. As we can see, they do congregate together just like modern day Goomies. Though Goomy doesn't have a regional variation at this stage, we'll see something later when we look at Sliggoo and Goodra. We don't have a lot of information on what they speculated about Goomy at the time, but what we do know is recorded as this. Goomy hides away in the shade of trees, where it's nice and humid. If the slime coating its body dries out, the Pokemon instantly becomes lethargic. We can see even back in the days of Hisui, people understood the fact that Goomy needed moisture to stay healthy. Look at these guys, they're so vibrant and talkative. It's a completely different environment here. I wonder how the Hisui nature affects the development of the Goomy line. We'll find out shortly once we get to looking at Hisui and Sliggoo. Look at these guys being so talkative. I wonder what they might be saying to each other. Comment below what you think they're talking about. What's this? A big metallic shell? This looks very different from the modern day Sliggoos we see. Is there a Sliggoo in there? Huh. Well, Sliggoo was classified as the snail Pokemon back in Hisui. They say that they're a creature given to melancholy. They suspected its metallic shell developed as a result of the mucus on its skin reacting with the iron in Hisui's water. Look at that! A Sliggoo popped out of the shell. Oh, there was a big congregation of Sliggoo over here. They seem pretty talkative. It's interesting how, by being in an environment with a lot of metal and iron in the water, that its body soaked that up, and the shell on its back that protected its organs like its heart and brain, actually hardened into a giant metallic shell that it can submerge itself inside, protecting itself from predators, including people. Many people who would go out into these areas just see what they would think is a big rock and they wouldn't know, and then unsuspectedly something pops out. It's kind of like a jack-in-the-box when you think about it. Look, it just popped out! Unfortunately, these Pokemon are said to be given to melancholy, so they're very sad and depressed. I wonder what it is about the harsh environment of Hisui that affect these Pokemon's moods so much. Here we see Hisuian Goodra, and the shell from Sliggoo has actually turned even bigger. Normal Goodra doesn't have a shell, but back in Hisui it did. Looking at the old Dex entries they recorded in Hisui, Hisuian Goodra was known as the Shell Bunker Pokemon. Able to freely control the hardness of its metallic shell, it loathes solitude and is extremely clingy. It will fume and run riot if those dearest to it ever leave its side. That's kind of depressing. This Pokemon that can submerge itself inside its shell, as we see here, are given to severe loneliness, and all they want is a friend. Many researchers speculate that the harsh environment of Hisui, which many Pokemon have struggled to survive in, and why we don't see Hisuian forms today, is the effect on Goodra that makes it so solitary. That at the time people were so afraid of Pokemon because of how dangerous and misunderstood they were, that Gudra couldn't relate with people, and as we see with modern day Gudra, it loves socializing with humans. This boy is so depressed, but we can be thankful that modern day Gudras have such a happy, cheerful demeanor as they befriend humans.